regarding the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of universities and some other unions before. And the ministry felt you ought to know the facts and the details, because in the final analysis, actually, it is your job that we are doing. It is indeed one of the statutory duties to negotiate with your workers on matters of welfare and conditions of service. And as you are all aware, the current industrial action in our public universities started on 14 February 2020, when ASUU commenced a 2-week warning strike over the non-implementation of agreements reached between the federal government and the union. And some of these include the following. Number one, funding for the public universities, reconstitution of the federal government ASUU 2009 Negotiation Committee, University Transparency Accountability Solutions, UTAS, release of the white paper on the report of the visitation panels to universities, proliferation of state universities, and the withheld salaries and non-remittance of some check-off deals of the unions. And to compound matters further, 3 other university non-teaching staff unions, SANU, NASU, and NAT, also declared trade disputes with the federal government and commenced nationwide industrial action a few weeks later. NAT, and for those who don't know, NAT means National Association of Academic Technologists, started its strike on March 17, 2022. The committee was charged with the responsibility of concluding the ongoing renegotiation efforts with all the unions and producing appropriate solutions, which are workable and which will become enduring agreements for the improvement of the system. While the Bridge Committee was busy interacting with the unions on all the issues, a federal government interministerial team under the leadership of the Minister of Labor, Dr. Chris Ngige, was simultaneously engaging the unions and resolving some of their minor demands, such as salary shortages and the payment of arrears of the minimum wage consequential adjustments, as well as payments of promotion arrears and others. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning was also able to resolve most of these issues by the end of July 2022. On May 12, 2022, about 3 months into the strike, a high-powered tripartite plus conciliation meeting was held at State House Banquet Hall at the instance of His Excellency the President, with a view to finding solutions to all the issues that were considered thorny and generic to both the teaching staff and to the non-teaching staff. 2 of the issues specified during the meeting were as follows. University Transparency and Accountability Solutions, UTAS, which was made by ASUU, and the University Peculiar Personnel and Payroll System, U3PS, by the non-academic staff. Number 2, the delay in renegotiating the 2009 agreement, the questions of conditions of service, wages, and allowances. It is important to note that this special conciliation meeting was chaired by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and had in attendance the Secretary to Government of the Federation, the Minister of Labor, Education, and Finance, the Head of Service, and other top government officials. The meeting was also attended by the Sultan of Sokoto and the President of the Christian Association of Nigeria, and other critical stakeholders, and including all the leadership of the 4 university-based unions, ASUU, NASU, SANU, and NAT. There were 2 major outcomes from this meeting. The first was the decision to test the 2 proposed salary payment solutions developed by the union, namely UTAS and U3PS, which are made by SANU and NASU. The 2 solutions were to be tested alongside the existing integrated personal Integrated Personnel Payroll and Information System, IPIS, by the National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA. The report of the Presidential Committee that was charged with the responsibility of harmonizing 3 payment platforms for effective deployment in the system is ready and will be made public very soon. The second outcome of the meeting was an agreement on the need to conclude the renegotiation process in a manner that will be in tune with the realities of the national economy. This would require the government to carefully and critically examine and review any draft agreement emanating from the renegotiation committee to ensure that the final implications contained in it are sustainable and they are in tune with the current realities of the national economy. Soon after the meeting in May, the BRICS committee concluded the negotiation with ASUU and produced a draft agreement, which was forwarded to the federal government through the Minister of Education for consideration and approval. Similarly, the negotiation with the non-teaching staff has since commenced, and an appreciable progress has been made towards producing the desired agreement for consideration and approval by their principals. In the course of exercise, the federal government team had made several attempts to head into the industrial crisis between the unions with a view to finding a solution and amicable solution to the challenges. After a series of meetings with His Excellency the President and the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Minister of Labor and Productivity, Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, as well as the Director General of the Budget Office and the Chairman, Salaries and Wages Commission, and the Minister of Education, the draft agreement was critically reviewed and the proposed salary increment considered unrealistic by government and out of tune with the realities of the economy. It was at this meeting that Mr. President approved that the Minister of Education should take over the negotiation and resolution of the crisis. And soon after the meeting, the Minister, that is I, conveyed the federal government offer to the NIMIC BRICS committee, and after I had spoken to the committee, I spoke to all the unions separately. The package offered centered around 4 positions agreed upon by government, and these are the centers. Number 1, that the federal government can only afford a 23.5 salary increase across the board for all categories of the workforce in all federal universities, except for the professorial cadre, which will enjoy a 35% upward review. Number 2, that henceforth allowances that pertain to ad hoc duties of the academic and non-academic staff shall be paid as and when due by the governing councils of universities to which services were rendered and to the staff who performed them. That a sum of 150 billion naira shall be provided for in the 2023 budget as funds for the revitalization of federal universities. The 4 university-based unions, in separate letters addressed to the chairman of the Government Renegotiation Committee, rejected the offer, which they said was inadequate and not able to meet their respective demands. Following the above development, I held several meetings with the individual striking university-based unions, during which I explained the prevailing economic situation, limiting the ability of the government to accede to all their demands. On these occasions, I also appealed to the unions to consider and accept the government's offer and call off the ongoing industrial action in the interest of the nation's educational system. Consequently, what I did actually was, while official negotiation was still going on, I'll call them for informal talks, which I believe would soften their stand when they go for the formal. I held several meetings with individual striking unions. I also appealed to the unions to consider and accept the government's offer. I want to say categorically, however, that all is not lost. The Joint Action Committee of NASA and SANU and NATO not suspended their industrial action, but unfortunately on Monday 29th August 2022, ASUU decided to extend its strike indefinitely. To me, it was a very, very big shock, and I will tell you later why. I want to say categorically, however, that nothing is lost. We have secured all the successes elsewhere. Let me at this point share with you the successes so far made in handling the strike issue. You may wish to recall that at the time we commenced the current round of negotiations with ASUU, with COASU, which had just suspended its strike. Still, there were threats, though, by some of the unions to resume strike along with the university-based unions. And as I said, by the end of my rather informal approach to them, even at that meeting, they gave me the award that they would call off, and they did call off. In all we have been doing, our guide has been the directive of Mr. President Muhammad Buhari that while the union should be persuaded to return to work, government should not repeat the past mistake of accepting to sign an agreement that will be unimplementable. Government should not, in the guise of resolving current crisis, cease for future disruptions. And we have done the best that we can in the circumstances. After interministerial consultations and many rounds of hard negotiations with all government agencies, we interacted with the unions. I personally gave it all my all that is required to resolve the current challenges. I met the unions anywhere and everywhere that was possible. I met them with facts, with figures, but with absolute sincerity. I never told them a single lie, and I never deceived them. For example, I directly met with us leadership in my house, in my office, and at the US Secretariat on several different occasions. All this in addition to the formal engagement going on. To be frank, with all the unions, especially with us, one major issue over which government and the unions could not reach amicable agreement was the issue of no work, no pay. And on this, I must openly and once again thank all the unions which made the sacrifice of understanding the position of government on this matter. I thank the unions that called off the strike just after hearing from me, even before the formal offer was made to them. The way forward. For me, the past 2 weeks have been a very dark period of personal anguish and internal turmoil. I used to deceive myself that in a climate of frankness and with mutual goodwill, it will fall to my lot to bring an end to the incessant strikes in the education sector. This so far has not proved possible, or at least not as easy, or as quickly, or as straightforward as I think, or as I used to think. Because I know there was a time I boasted that I will be able to stop the strike in 2017. And this was in tandem with the unions, they agreed. Unfortunately, this has not happened. Distinguished Chairman, Vice Chancellors, I call you today not to share with you my anguish, but to share with you the details of what we have done and what remains to be done. And certainly a lot remains to be done. And for very different reasons, the current position of government and ASUU on the future of negotiations seems to have coincided. For me, this is a position I would have wanted us to reach after an amicable resolution of all the issues contained in the 2009 agreement. It appears that we are running ahead of the negotiations, but not for the right reasons. The president of ASUU has been reported to have said that the union will no longer negotiate with the federal government, the current government. This position, I think, must be resisted. Government and ASUU have no option than to continue talking until our universities have opened their doors to students who clearly are principal victims of the crisis. In the circumstances, therefore, all councils and senates of our universities are enjoined to rise up to their responsibilities. We must together continue to work to restore our public universities to where they were in the 60s and 70s. As the most important officers in our university system, pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors, must demonstrate more commitment to ending the ongoing crisis. But as I say, from what I heard before I asked that you should come here to meet me, I believe inadvertently you are kept in the dark. I think you don't have all the information. That is why I said we should come here. I will tell you what we have done, so that from here you will know where to take off. As chairman of councils and senate, the highest policy and academic bodies in the system, you must consider it your paramount duty to promote policies and actions that will discourage industrial disputes in our campuses. Government will continue to support the physical and academic development of universities. Government will also continue to reasonably enhance the working conditions of all university staff, academic and non-academic. The main challenge, as you are fully aware, is dwindling resources available to address all the concerns of the citizenry. I want to thank you for your support, for your understanding, and for your sacrifices, especially for the sacrifices that you'll be called to make more and more of. I thank you very much.